Again, welcome again. Good day, everyone. This is the October Dr. NAACLS for the September board meeting for the board of directors. So as a reminder, we always timestamp these Dr. NAACLS for those who are watching it at a later date because NAACLS compliance issues, such as we'll be discussing today, can change at least up to twice a year, sometimes more. So if you're watching this at a later date, especially a couple months from now into 2024, as odd as that is to say, and we discuss some compliance requirements, especially in the Q&A portion, please check the website for the most up-to-date documents. And if you still have questions, please contact NAACLS staff. Today's team, first of all, our volunteer contact expert is our new board of directors president, Robert Cottrell. And also our CEO, Marissa James, and myself, my name is Mark Spence, and I will hand it over to Robert now.
Thank you. Again, welcome everyone. I greatly appreciate everyone's volunteer support and efforts to be here and support NAACLS. I want to continue to really acknowledge Marissa and her role as our CEO. She has been doing a phenomenal job, and our NAACLS Executive Staff Office and all our staff liaisons, support staff are just absolutely incredible. So thank you so much, Mark. So this is our update from our September 2023 Board of Directors meeting. We had the privilege of having our 50th celebration. Here is an image with some of our former board presidents. I would really also like to take this time to just thank Dr. Mary Beth Flaws for just her exceptional leadership, friendship, and support throughout her tenure as president, but prior to that too, just always supporting us, volunteering, and stepping forward. So here we have former past presidents, and it was just an absolute delight to get to meet some people for the first time and get to rekindle some former friendships. So fantastic. We did have the privilege of welcoming a new member to the board of directors, Dr. Abiodun Akinwenten, who joins us from Kansas University, and a fantastic individual to really engage with and to bring a wealth of new ideas and perspective to the board. I also would like to congratulate and welcome our new review committee members as of July. So you might see some familiar faces or new individuals. And again, this is a great opportunity to acknowledge all of these individuals for their volunteer support and their ability to step forward and want to contribute to NAACLS and assist us. So thank you all. I want to acknowledge that we have Karen Brown as our new vice president, Susie Nora Santo as our secretary, Nathan Johnson as our treasurer, our member at large, Elena Blayfield, and past president Mary Beth Flaws, along with myself and Marissa James. So here for our standards update and implementation, I'll pass this off briefly to Mark.
Yeah, so later in the presentation, we'll get into the status of some of the more highly discussed standard changes. So we will get to that in a bit, but just an overall update of where we are. The NAACLS Board of Directors have reviewed the public comment. They've reviewed the review committee members' feedback to the public comment, and some of those standards that were part of the draft were approved. A few were tabled for further consideration, either by a task force or the review committees, and some were not advanced. And I believe the parliamentary procedure term we used was denied. So we'll get into some of those details about what is moving forward, what is tabled in a little bit, but we want to give you an overall update. Also, the next steps, there's a lot of stuff happening right now behind the scenes. What's happening is for the standards that were approved, our review committee members are currently in development of an update to the compliance language. So some of the items that we discussed now that you see have been approved, we do not have what NAACLS will be looking for for compliance to those standards. That is currently in development. We are looking to do a full rollout of the compliance guide materials, the standards, September 2024. So if there are additional standards that are either added or have changed, in the board's opinion, have changed enough from the September draft, those will be released in April for public comment. But our main target is to finalize all compliance information and all standards by September 2024. So when we send out those NORs for self-studies in 2025, those self-studies will be under this new set of standards. As of, I'm sorry, October 2025, I still have my old phlebotomy self-study due dates in my head. So, and that's really that October 2025 self-study date, and everything that follows that is kind of the watershed moment. We will be not accepting new self-studies. I mean, self-studies under the 2012 standards in October 2025. So the reason of that is to really reduce the confusion for our review committee members. Some of those meetings will have to have some, just because of the way our site visits fall or our self-studies fall, we may have a few of those lingering 2012 self-studies. But speaking as somebody who was on the review, watching the review committees last time we went through this change, it provides a lot of unneeded stress to our review committee members who already put in a lot of thoughtful work and care to prep those recommendations to the board. So we're just trying to make things clear and make things easiest for our volunteers. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you, Mark. And again, please allow me to reiterate, I want to thank everyone for their support or information they submit in the public comment open periods. That's really essential for individuals to really have a voice and engage with us. We greatly value that, and that is seen by, again, allowing me to thank all of our task force members in review committees, because they really do comb through that information, digest it, and present it to the board, and we share that with our committee members to really put forth the best effort we can to answer those questions. In regard to nomenclature, again, the board of directors has decided not to proceed with the nomenclature standard. Requiring a specific program name falls outside the NAACLS mission, vision, and values of ensuring high-quality laboratory science programs. Interprofessional education, we are looking right now to move forward in Standard 8 for all disciplines. And this is designed to help provide clarity and allow program curriculums to define and have standards and information put forth for interprofessional education and collaborative practices that they engage with at their respective institutions. For our inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility efforts, this is at the moment tabled for further consideration as we again refer this to our IDEA task force, and they will be coming forward with changes and items that will again, I expect to have an open public comment period when we get to that point. Entry-level competencies. So here we're looking at reviewing the standards and appropriate time to make competencies really match scope of practice. And that's what we're looking to do in regard to both career and technical entry-level competencies for each discipline. BMS standards. Here, our Future and Emerging Professions Task Force did an excellent job of developing and is in the process of working on these standards that are or have been reviewed and approved by the board. And again, the purpose is to try to take this nebulous title and give it a clear, description of that profession, the overall umbrella that it falls under, and to give it a set standard of objectives. Mark, I'll let you comment on this.
Yeah. So we, earlier today on the NAACLS News, we posted a standard revision to the phlebotomy 2012 standards. So I know there's a lot of moving parts right now. This would specifically be to the changes of the current standards, not the draft standards. It would likely carry over to that, to the draft standards, but since there's multiple timelines of implementation happening right now, we have a public comment period open right now for standards that could change as soon as the April board meeting. Mm-hmm. So this is not part of that I don't know why that did happen. Part of that kind of watershed moment I said for the self-studies going forth in October 2024. And I think the phlebotomy standard is actually the removal of a standard of just something that may not be 100% applicable anymore. That's on the NAACLS News for more details. Also, we have multiple doctoral standards that are up for public comment as well. And I believe the public comment period ends in early December.
Thank you, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
We have revised the inactive status policy. Mm-hmm. And this is to provide clarity when a program is considered inactive, and then the steps a program must take to reactivate. Please, after today's session, the NAACLS News is set to deliver the written Board of Directors report with more specifics that, again, will come after this meeting. So I implore you all to check details from NAACLS News. Pass this off to Mark.
Yeah, so really when the standards change, the standards compliance guide change, it's a domino effect with other documents. So September staff usually takes that time to make sure all of the changes that were decided upon by the board in the standards or the standards compliance guide are reflected in our core documents. So the NAACLS Guide to Accreditation, the NAACLS Standards, the NAACLS Standards Compliance Guide. Those documents we expect to be updated by November 2nd. We'll have an announcement on the NAACLS News once those documents are updated. Mm-hmm. And once those documents are updated, we will send out the NORs that are due in October 2024.
Thank you.
And now we'll go into the general Q&A. Real quick, we are bringing up our DLPs. For those of you who, this may be one of your first Dr. NAACLS or are unclear about the role of the DLP, the individuals you see on the screen here, their contact information is also available on our website on our program director page, but these are members of our review committee and they are available for standard interpretation. If you have a question about process, like, hey, Mark just went on a spiel about when the self-studies are due for the new standards, that's more of a process item. That's for NAACLS staff. But if you have a question of what we may be looking for on our, for example, publication standard or something like that, these are a great resource for those kind of questions. I have an automatic timer on here. But what we want to avoid is we don't necessarily want these individuals to be put in a place where they have to give a once-over or a self-study or a progress report. That can become quite burdensome if we have multiple people making those requests. And as well as, since they are review committee members, it provides a tricky conflict of interest. So one or two standards that you just have general questions on as you're preparing for your self-study or site visit or something of that matter is perfectly fine. But some of those larger kind of consultation type aspects we do try to avoid. And I do want to take this opportunity to, it's going crazy. I do want to take this opportunity to thank not only these people, but our current volunteers. We are in a pretty busy volunteer season right now with self-studies, site visits, things of that nature. And before we know it, there's going to be agendas for review committees going up. So thank you to our volunteers.
And allow me to reiterate that. So for all of our discipline lead professionals and individuals here, thank you so much for your efforts, your volunteerism. And again, if you would like to participate and you see identify, with these individuals, with these programs, we would love to communicate with you. So please contact our staff, and we would love to get your name and see how we can engage with you and bring you on board. So thank you so much.
Yeah, let me just follow up with that. Within the next few weeks, we'll probably be putting out a call for nominations to our review committees.
Mhm.
I don't believe we have any positions open on the board with a public call for nominations. But if you know somebody that you think would be good on a review committee, like let's say you had a great site visitor and you think that it would behoove NAACLS that they be in a place on the review committee where they have a little more input to program review and policy, or if you yourself have experience doing self-studies and site visits, and you think you would be an available member of the review committees, please either nominate those other individuals or feel free to nominate yourself. I have learned by working with NAACLS, lab people aren't good at saying, hey, I'm good in this role, I'm going to promote myself. Please feel free to promote yourself in these positions. If you have the interest and you have the qualifications, we certainly want to get you in the mix and get you in the nominations process. So the requirements will be available on the NAACLS News. I don't have those verbatim off the top of my head, but those will be coming in the next few weeks. Looks like we already have one question. Before we get to that, Susan, if you do have questions either about the topic of today's call, which is the board report, or any question at all, please feel free to either drop it in the Q&A or you can raise your hand, and through the magic of Zoom, we'll get your voice over the call. So our first question, did the NAACLS Board of Directors approve the change in certification level for the MLT program director? Certification from MLS level to MLT. If yes, can programs adopt that before their next reaccreditation cycle? I think I can't remember if that was approved, but I think that was part of the new draft standards. And if it was part of the new draft standards, I don't remember if I'll have to get back to you on that on email, Susan. I'm sorry. There's so much going on with those standards. I'd rather get the language in front of me to be sure I'm giving the right answer.
Yeah, I think they might be part of the draft standards.
Yeah.
Suzanne, follow up with the email to Mark, and we'll dig into that.
Yeah. If we didn't have an explicit discussion about those kind of things. If we would let people to adopt now, the challenge of adopting now is making sure that those changes are reflected in all of our review forms, so our self-study and site visitors would have that information. But we'll take a look at it and have some internal discussions and get back to you. It's a good question right off the bat.
Yeah. Monday. It's Halloween Eve.
Yeah, everybody's ready to go.
Yep.
Invigorated by the weather.
Yeah.
Is there a decision on HT ending with an associate's degree? I believe that is, so in our larger board report that is on the NAACLS News, we included kind of a tracking sheet of items that really go into the details of the decision of the board meeting. That was a request we heard on Dr. NAACLS and during our Q&A sessions at CLEC. So some of these details, I'm going to refer you to the NAACLS News post, and specifically the tracking sheet we have connected to, links to that. So Rebecca, if your answer is not in that, I'm not trying to dodge the question. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head, because anybody who looked at the draft standards know there's quite a few. So what was and wasn't off the top of my head, I don't have exactly, but it should be in that document. But if not, feel free to email me or call the office. Who do I contact to see if I can add to the list of the contacts for volunteer reviews? So I will just show everybody where to sign up for reviews. So let me escape out of this and bring up a browser. So this is the NAACLS homepage. If you go all the way to the right to volunteers, sign up. It's all right here. So if you want to be, if you're a brand new volunteer and you haven't volunteered before, this is your sign up. If you have experience as a self-study reviewer, site visitor, and as a program director, I really encourage you to sign up for a VIP mentor role. We really rely on mentorship for new volunteers, and program directors kind of bring them along. And we've been extremely fortunate to have a lot of interest in reviewing, becoming a NAACLS volunteer. But since we're so dependent on those mentors to help guide them through, it's taken us a little bit to onboard those new individuals. So, and after, among the other chaos of 2020, we actually had a very large review scheduled as a result of all the 5-year, 10-year awards we were getting. So during 2020, on top of it, I think RCAP reviewed over 100 programs. So I bring that up to say is we are actually on a kind of a downswing right now of the number of programs we have to review. Largely that will probably pick up in the next couple of years. So back to your initial question, if you want to sign up, I would just, and you're not sure if you signed up before, go ahead and sign up again. Once you sign up, you'll be included on the call for volunteers that go out twice a year by email. And then if you're brand new, we will get you involved as soon as we can. We certainly want to get to you. We want to get as many different voices and perspectives involved as possible. But that would be the best way to kind of get in the rotation. Standard Compliance Guide, we are expecting the Standard Compliance Guide to be ready next week. And that will be announced, Phyllis, that will be announced on the NAACLS News. It looks like Marissa's following up with Dana. Any other questions?
Please make sure you check the website to update any,
standards and submit comments. The public comments there. I mean, it was a lot. Could you hear me okay on that one?
I missed the first part. So we had a question. I imagine there's a fair number of questions on how to interpret new standards. Yes. So, Marissa, did you want to take that one? Was that the one you were answering?
No, I was just thanking people for sending public comments on those standards, because we looked through those. We went through them page by page.
Yeah. Brooke, to answer your question, we do get a lot of questions on how to interpret new standards. We have considered frequently asked questions. And that's something we may incorporate in the updated documents. We're kind of really reviewing, since change begets change, we're kind of looking at everything right now as a good time to maybe revisit how we handle items. So that's certainly something we'll take under consideration. It's something we've discussed in the past. Any other questions? Does everybody remember that the survey's due in a couple days? I know Beth does. Beth remembers, our IT person.
Do your best on the new questions. We really just want to know how many people it takes to run your program. So, and you may not every single one of the terms are going to directly be the term that you use, but we did our best since we have so many different types of programs. Don't stress about it too much.
And please use those comment fields to really, it's not only just justifying you, it's giving us that information, allowing us a glimpse into your very unique world and institution, because there's value in that.
And if you have ideas to make the questions better for everyone to understand, regardless of whether you're at a 2-year, 4-year, MLS, HT, we'll take them.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank everyone for joining. Also, I want to make one more plug. We are looking for our distinguished service nominees. So if you are a longtime volunteer, former review committee member, pretty much anybody from NAACLS is open to receive that award. Board member, review committee member, or just a very active reviewer. We just looked at the individuals that have served on the review committees of the board within the last 3 years are not eligible, and there's a list of those people on the NAACLS News page. So, so yeah, there's a lot happening right now.
And Mark, that's also, you can self-nominate, correct?
I believe that is referenced on the NAACLS News page.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Okay, that's it. Thanks everybody for finding the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Be safe.